K-pop Demon Hunter's Haja Boys breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
This is the Blue Moon Podcast. Coming up, we've got all the news and views from Manchester City's week. It's your club, and this is your show.
Straight back off the international break with a confidence-boosting 4-0 win over Liverpool. Put that up alongside a Carabao Cup final win over Arsenal. And maybe, just maybe, things are starting to get interesting for the remainder of the season. It's Chelsea up next, so we'll perhaps find out this week just how serious Manchester City are about making a proper go of the end of the season. That's all up for discussion on today's Blue Moon podcast with a few key questions to answer. Have we had the click for this season? Has the FA Cup opened up nicely in the semi-final stage? Can City catch Arsenal and mount a serious title challenge? All of that and more to come. Also on the show, we'll hear from the Athletic's Liam Twomey to find out what's happening at Stamford Bridge. Plus, we've got Loukas, Gregory and Katie Wrench from the newly formed Citizens Trust to discuss why a supporters trust is needed and what they're hoping to achieve. All of that to come. I'm David Mooney, and helping me get through all of that this week, I've got City fan and presenter Adam Monk.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, and from the Daily Mail, we've got Jack Gaughan.
Hello, David. You okay?
Yeah, not bad. How are things?
Things are good. Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
Can't complain. I've got like a project for the end of the season about Pep, so I'm being quite quiet on the old work front at the moment, and my head's just been in that for the last 2 months, so quite busy.
Is this
although you wouldn't know it?
Is this a project on Pep because he's leaving, or a project on Pep because it's 10 years?
Well, it can be repurposed either way.
How convenient that is. Adam, you good? You've not had you on for a while. You good?
Yeah, not too bad. Got a few things in the pipeline too. Signed with a new agent last week who happens to also represent Yaya. So what that means is June the 5th, if I don't get a cake, David, we'll be having words.
Excellent. Right.
Serious words.
Let me just put that in my diary right now. Good. The other thing, I wanted to start with this because I've been trying to think of a way to crowbar this in. The Artemis 2 mission has captured everybody's imagination this week. That's one big story in the news that we are focusing on, rather than the other stories in the news that have been capturing everybody's thoughts. Rather simply, Adam, which City player, past or present, would you blast off into space given the chance?
I reckon Joey Barton's a fair shout at this point now, after recent online activities and etc. etc. Talking from a purely football-based perspective, my initial, when you asked me this over text, my initial gut feeling was Savinho, but I feel like that's harsh. Like, that's because I'm trying to fix a current problem, whereas, or a player that I don't want in the squad rather. But I think over the whole course of City, I think like peak 2016 Jesus Navas maybe, just because he only had one cross in his locker, and it got so repetitive that it's the only time I've ever actually left a game early.
Oh, because of somebody's crossing.
Courtesy of his crossing, yeah. He just kept doing the same thing. It was that West Ham game at home where we lost 2-1. Early on it was De Bruyne's home debut actually. And I'm not joking, it was like that infamous game where David Moyes played Fulham for United and he put 40 crosses in. It was that, but Navas was the only one doing it.
I don't remember that at all. But
honestly, it was a nightmare. Yeah, so that would be my answer.
Excellent. Jack, I guess this is a bit of a harder question for you, given that you're not a City fan and you have a professional working relationship with a lot of these people. But come on, name names.
Professional working relationship, do I? Bloody hell. That's quite euphemistic. Does it have to be inherently negative?
No, you can. I mean,
could you want like someone to blast off into space because you just wanted something good to happen for them?
I mean, it's a spin. Who are we thinking?
No, I've got a negative one. Don't worry. It's kind of like slightly tangential, off at a right angle. I would want Nolito's daughter to be blasted off into space just to see whether her skin tone changes.
That's very niche.
Does people's skin tone change in space? Is that a known phenomenon?
What did he say about it when he wanted to leave in 2017?
He said her skin went grey, didn't he?
Yeah, it went grey. So I want to see whether sort of it goes grey again. She's old enough to go up in space now, I would have thought. She'd be in her teens. So
yeah, let's give us the other one. I'm just going to look up the youngest astronaut.
Youngest astronaut?
Yeah. Youngest astronaut, youngest person to have flown in space, 18 years and 334 days old.
Yeah. No worries.
Oliver Damon. Although it was in the Blue Origin shuttle rather than anything kind of NASA-based.
Oliver Damon. I wonder if he's like son of Matt and he's just been paid to...
different spelling, or at least he's changed the spelling if that's the case, just to just to kind of distance himself from his father.
Does he identify as a Damon?
No, he's a Damon, Daemon.
Oh wow! I think on the Nolito shuttle, obviously the father and daughter would go because I would send him off because he was pony and hated City and hated Manchester, didn't he?
There's nobody to headbutt up there though, is there? So
I'd forgotten about the headbutt. I'd looked. I was looking at. This is why it's fresh in my mind because I was like looking at his brief City career the other day.
Is this all part of a pet piece by any chance?
Yes, yeah. It may well be. Well, 5 separate pet pieces actually. I was just like, I didn't realise he'd started actually okay. Scored at Stoke.
Yeah, scored a brace at Stoke.
Yeah.
Scored against Everton.
But then, just completely... Apparently, he just refused to learn any English and was moaning that the team talks were delivered in English. And it just wasn't jiving.
Yeah. He was a funny one because I think by the end of his City career he had more headbutts than goals, but hey ho. Should we talk about the positives, because it's actually been quite a good week and here we are blathering on about blasting ex-players into space. Adam, that's now Arsenal and Liverpool back to back with good performances, good results. What do you make of recent form? How are things feeling at the minute?
The trajectory's changed, hasn't it? Completely. And I think I won't use the word imperious. It's not the City of old per se, but what the trend has really been in the last 2 games has been the first 20-30 minutes of the match has been something of a teething period, getting our foothold in the game, and then we really are blowing teams away. Now that front four has certainly gone a long way to help it. That Doku, Shirky, Semenyo, Haaland front four. I think it gives teams something extra to think about when they're playing us, rather than them imposing themselves on us on the ball like we allowed Real Madrid to do when Valverde was playing almost as a second striker in that game. I think it's also showed the importance of Kusanov as well. I think when you're playing a front four like we have done with the pivot of Rodri and Bernardo, Pep always likes to play a high line, and I think that having him in there has allowed us to be a bit more front-footed and aggressive. So I think a lot of elements to City's play that City fans have wanted to come to fruition in the last few weeks have finally come to fruition and almost culminated in these last 2 games. And I think it stood us in good stead now to kick on at Chelsea, but kick on for the rest of the season too. It's an upturn in form that's been needed as well, because imagine we didn't win these last 2 games after the previous results we'd had. We'd be blasting the squad into space now at this point. So I'm quite relieved, but also optimistic for the next few weeks.
Yeah, Jack. City good, Liverpool bad. How's the balance on that seesaw?
Yeah, City really good. In fact, the last 2 games, City have been really good second halves, which is an upturn. Yeah. Yeah, is
not
it
really ironic, is it? It's not
it's
ironic.
Not ironic, is it?
No.
It's definitely not ironic. Do you want to talk about 90s pop culture or not?
No, not really. I was tempted to reference it, and I thought actually no. With like everyone's done that to death, haven't they?
I think the thing is, from the last few weeks, I don't like the Real Madrid home game. They'd started really well. I think they without the handball and the red card, I think that's a really, really interesting game, and I think they would have run them close because I think they started really well. And then at West Ham, I didn't think they were that bad at West Ham.
Neither did I.
I think it was a case of like they should have won that game 4 or 5-1, no problem. Goalkeeper makes a mistake at the corner for the equaliser. So I think for the last sort of month they've been playing pretty well. I don't think it's just the last 2 games. There's been a reaction from the Real Madrid sort of defensive capitulation, but even in that, in the first 20 minutes, they were exceptional, really good. Arguably better in that 20 minutes than they were in some of the other games that they've won. So it's sort of been a bit. I think it's been a little bit of a slow burn. The performance is getting better, and then that second half against Arsenal, I thought they were superb. Obviously, beating Arsenal, they had all the ball, and then when they beat Liverpool, they had marginally less of the ball. So they're finding sort of different ways to win, which is good.
Yeah. Well, after the performance and result on Saturday, combined with that win in the League Cup final, there is a little bit of a tentative idea that City might have clicked for this season. The trouble is, you can never really know when the click has happened until after the fact, so let's see if we can take any clues from previous seasons. The click has become a bit of a meme in Manchester City seasons under Pep Guardiola. There's no hard and fast rule for when it happens, but it always feels like every season is split in 2, before and after the click. Before it, there's the feeling that City aren't exactly up to much. After it, though, City go on one of their trademark winning runs.
There is no one team in England is 35 years all the time being the same. The people change, the team change, the player change, and we changed a lot last season and this season. For the players but we have a fan base, I would say, or a base like is still really very good, and the new players are really good too. It's question of click, and it's like a final momentum that when we are going to start winning games, it's going to happen.
That's Pep Guardiola speaking earlier this season after City's 2-1 loss at Brighton. The truth is, though, he could be speaking in any number of his previous seasons. Here's City fan and journalist from Sporting News, Dom Farrell.
I think the click is something that you spot with City after the event, really. And it's important that it's a certain type of performance, I think, because it will get tied to a lot of these big winning runs that City go on. But very often the first win in those runs can be a bit of a scrappy, grubby one. Like, for example, going back to the Centurion season, I don't think anyone would say anything clicked when Raheem Sterling got the late winner at Bournemouth and Aguero tried to fight a policeman. But then a couple of weeks later, Feyenoord and Watford, that's clicky. So to throw it to this season, City have, aside from the United and Bodo Glimt games, been sort of motoring through 2026 pretty well, but Liverpool could look like a click depending on what happens at the end of the season.
That Sterling goal at Bournemouth is surely the earliest click that City have had under Pep. It was the third match of the season, and City won every single game until New Year's Eve, opening up a 14-point lead at the top of the table. The click that August might have been so impactful that it lasted the whole of the next season too. As Liverpool pushed City all the way in 2019, Guardiola's side had to win and win and win. After a wobble in the winter with 3 defeats in 4, City clicked with a victory over Liverpool at the Etihad.
Of course, reduce the gap, still they are on top of the table, still 4 points is enough points to be calm, but at the same time it's a good moment to congratulate, to say thank you to these incredible players, what they have done in 60 months. And today they show a rest, for everybody, how good they are, which heart they play against an incredible team. So I think it was a good spectacle, and both teams played to win. It was a final for us because losing today it was almost over, and winning today we are already there. So now the Premier League is everybody tie again, So we'll see.
That might not have been the click though. They still lost to Newcastle at the end of the month. Maybe it was the 3-1 win over Arsenal at the Etihad in early February, or maybe it was a very nervy 2-0 win at Goodison Park the midweek after.
We played a tough game 3 days ago, come here, and we make a good first half with a lot of clear chances, and our wingers, they didn't help us to make this 1-against-1 in the last moments. But in the second half they push more, we had more problems to make a build-up, but we didn't concede one shot on target here in Goodison Park is not usual. So nothing, 3 more points and rest, because in 3-4 days we have another one, a real test against Chelsea at home, and we will see how far where we arrive.
City had arrived. They beat Chelsea 6-0. They won the League Cup, and then they won everything but a Champions League tie with Spurs to end the campaign with the first ever domestic treble. There have been more obvious clicks though, where there's a much bigger change from before it to after it.
Yeah, they played really well. Just say thank you to all the players in this difficult time, because friends, players and backroom staff are suffering. They had the COVID, and they make a step forward and they make an incredible display, playing one of the best teams in England, in the Stamford Bridge.
That was after the game that was considered a click in January 2021, as City swept Chelsea aside 3-1 at Stamford Bridge. It was the first time they'd won 3 in a row all season. The run would max out at 15 successive victories, which moved City from 9th place and 8 points off the top to being Premier League leaders and 5 points clear. The next big click was in 2023. Here's Dom Farrell again.
I think 2023 and the treble running is the clearest example of the click sort of being teed up and foreshadowed by Guardiola. Before that marked international break, he talked quite a lot about being there and having to win 3 games before the international break to make that happen. And those were a pretty grubby 1-0 win at Crystal Palace, and then very high scoring wins against Burnley in the FA Cup and RB Leipzig in the Champions League. And that was all to be there. The game after the international break was that 4-1 win over Liverpool at the start of April, which was, I think it is probably the most emphatic example of a click game, given what preceded it and also what followed.
Even in the following season, as City went for an unprecedented 4 top-flight titles in a row, there was some element of a click. After just 4 wins in 11 games in the autumn time, City went away to the Club World Cup, stewing on a 2-2 draw with Crystal Palace.
When you come back from Saudi Arabia, you could potentially be 12 points behind Liverpool if they win all their games. I know you'll have games in hand, but and I know you've done it in the past. Last season you reeled in Arsenal and did it with Liverpool in the past, but how much more difficult would it be if you were facing a points deficit of that size?
Yeah, of course, we have to to win games and depend on ourselves. It's not the distance to think about it. What they do will be possible or not be possible. You have to have the feeling that the last 3 games here with 0 points were excellent, but really, really, really good. But the reality, 3 points. We could not win it. This is the reality. But the performance-wise was really, really good.
They won the tournament in Saudi Arabia and then came back and won 18 in an unbeaten 21 to end the season as champions. Now, they had played well for the majority of that game against Crystal Palace, so maybe that match, despite City throwing away the lead late on, was actually the click. Or maybe it was the 3-1 win at Everton in late December when they got back from the Club World Cup.
I remember when we came back from Saudi after being world champion, and I was there sitting in my seat and I listened to the players. They didn't know. I listened to them and said, oh, Everton, start to talk about Everton. 3 days ago, start to talk about Everton. And I said, wow, this is my team. That means still, how the difficulty. We saw the teams they beat here, the way they play is so special. You have to control many things, and that is, we want to be there. So I like to, after what we won in many years, I still had the feeling that they want to try it again. And the moment when you win a lot, the tendencies, go down. And we had a lot of problems this season. We played really well in many games we were not able to win. We don't talk about ourselves, how good we are. What's next? And that I like it. I like a lot.
You could even argue that last season had a click as well, with Guardiola finding a way to solve the issues from the autumn and winter to get a solution in the spring, probably around the time that City came from 2-0 down to beat Crystal Palace 5-2, or the time that Matheus Nunes scored a stoppage time winner against Aston Villa. All this means is that we won't know if the performances and results against Arsenal and Liverpool are this season's click. What we do know is that we'll have a better idea in the coming weeks, and that starts with Sunday's trip to Chelsea.
Hi there, this is Joe Royal speaking. You're listening to the Blue Moon podcast, and carry on doing so.
You see stats pop up all the time about clubs and players, and you want to know that exact thing about City. There's an answer. Statscity.co.uk. Want to find out all of the players who played alongside club legends like David Silva, Sergio Aguero or Vincent Kompany? Or maybe you'd like to know which team found it hardest to score past Joe Hart. You can find out City's record in every competition, at every stadium, and under every manager. Just go to statscity.co.uk and browse away. That's statscity.co.uk.
The right window treatments change everything. Your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 five-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
If you enjoy the show, please give it a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Jack, about 7 minutes there on previous clicks. Could we be in the midst of a click right now? Could this be the point at which where we look back at the end of the season and go, that was it. That was the moment it changed.
What is the midst of a click? Is it that, or is it the middle of that? Or is it you gearing up to sort of click?
to do that? Yeah. It's a great question.
It all happens so quickly, David.
I don't know. But that's the point of a click, though, isn't it? That like suddenly it's happened, and then you're like, oh, there was a click. It's happened.
Well then, yeah. I mean, yeah. If suddenly it's happened, then you can't be in the midst of something, can you?
All right, Mr. Pedant.
It's an interesting question. I mean, the obvious answer is we don't know, because you just said you don't know when something's clicked. So it does feel like, it definitely feels like there's been a little bit more consistency, and you have a better idea of what you're going to get from them as a collective. So in that sense, I think they're learning how to play with each other, because I was going to say people forget, but you can't forget. There's been so many new players over the last 15 months. It's like half a squad. That's why the Carabao win was so important, because none of them, not none of them, but quite a lot of them had never won any silverware before, and the first trophy for a new squad is always the most important. And you're just seeing little partnerships and relationships developing across the pitch, which is, I think, really encouraging. Even someone like Nunes next to Kusanov is something that is I've seen kind of I thought last week that was a really, really sort of strong relationship. So he's even sort of seeing those things. So yeah, it is positive. I think they've given themselves a little bit too much to do this season, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I think if they want a midfielder, a right back, and a winger for next season, if they buy the right players, they're going to take some beating, I think, next year.
Yeah. I was going to ask, Adam, what could it mean for the rest of the season? If this is City clicking now from this point, what could it mean for the rest of the season, given where things are? Obviously, the FA Cup draw has been fairly kind, but you look at the three other teams that are left in, you'd say City are the favourites at this stage. points gap to Arsenal's a little bit bigger than we might hope?
I think we'll still win the league, personally. You talk about those clicks, and I presume you mean that in the context of a title race, right? Like clawing back the deficit on a team, which we have done in previous seasons. Now, the treble season is one I would put down to a tactical tweak, but the other ones, I'm thinking like United 11-12, Liverpool 13-14. I won't include the Jurgen Klopp title races because I think we'd clicked from the start of the season. We were just that good.
You didn't need a click in those. You had to win everything, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. But I think like the United and Liverpool ones of like 10 plus years ago, those clicks usually happened when the other team faltered and slipped. It wasn't necessarily City then finding their stride. So, you think about Liverpool, it was the Gerrard slip. That then consequently led to the Sellers Park game. I think you don't get one without the other. United, I don't think you get that Everton 4-4 draw without the loss to Wigan Athletic. So history tells me that I only think we need Arsenal to lose one game. That's my personal opinion. And they already have lost, they've had 2 damaging blows in different competitions in recent weeks. Obviously, I don't think the Southampton one happens without the League Cup final being such a drubbing in the second half too. I think it's made that second string squad really, don't want to say down tools, but maybe not. Some of them don't think they're good enough or know how to deliver the manager's methods. So
Feeling
I think
the pressure,
yeah, they're feeling the pressure, absolutely. So I think that all we've got to do is inflict more of that pressure that we can. So win that game in hand, beat them at the Etihad.
I guess the question, though, Adam, is can City do that? Because the lesson of the story of this season so far has been that they get into these positions and then they drop points or something like that. Yeah. But if you take the Liverpool performance, you take the Arsenal performance, has that changed from City?
Yeah, and I think that, look, Jack referenced the West Ham game. We win that game if Cherki starts. I'm sorry. We just do. That Cherki, Semenyo, is not a 10. And that's where he was deployed in that game. And you could see how blunt we were in that first half. Marmoush is a completely different discussion, but I think he particularly doesn't work in a 2 with Haaland. But also I don't really think he is maybe the right profile of player to work in this City side. So Cherki, I think in the last couple of weeks has proved that he's undroppable from now till the end of the season. We're finding a bit of a formula that works. And I also think it's helping that Doku is hugging the width, players are doubling up on him, and it's giving Semenyo more space on the other side. We found a formula where I think it's made it easier for us to be devastating now, and that's why we're playing well in second halves and we're scoring more goals as well. That's what I'd say. So I am confident. Obviously, you know what Pep's like, one game at a time. If we're talking just about this Chelsea game first and foremost, I'm confident we go and win that. And then I think that will have a snowball effect.
Jack, let's touch on Haaland because he hasn't been scoring, and then he scores a hat-trick, and there's a good mixture of goals in the hat-trick as well, with a penalty, a nice finishing off the bar, a good header as well. 20th of December was the last time he scored more than 2 in a City game.
And he's like, I'm still insistent that he's been unfit, that he's been carrying something since January. Like, he maintains that he's not talked about injuries, has refused to talk about injuries. People around him have said that he's not got an injury, but I just you just look at him and you go,
he went to see Dr. Kugat over the break,
exactly.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
Is this one of those things of like at the end of the season he'll go, I
think
injured,
it'll
and we all
come
go,
out,
we all knew, yeah.
But I don't know why they've not just said, because I don't know. It seems obvious to anyone watching him that he's not been fully there. I thought, you're right. You're absolutely right with the sort of spread of the goals, David. I thought the third goal where he just instinctively hits it and it hits the bar. It's like it stayed here. It was like a proper Haaland goal. That we've not seen one of those in ages, have we?
But also it looks better because he hit the bar and it bulged the roof of the net. So it's like a proper, like a really nice, aesthetically pleasing finish.
Yeah. I just think it has been a while since I've gone, that's an Erling Haaland goal. And the header, as you said, was brilliant. I mean, Pep Lijnders was sort of effusive in description of that goal as like a proper strikers, and they will obviously want more of that from him. But it was again in front of the defender and an angle in the header to the back post, and yeah, it was perfect. So he quite a lot of these players peak towards the end of the season, or have done in the past for City in sort of previous incarnations of Pep's teams. And Haaland's he has had a dip and he hasn't been playing well for quite a while. And you just wonder whether, you're talking about clicks, you just wonder whether something like that, and even like the scrappy goal against Real Madrid sort of just helps lift someone for no real reason, really.
Yeah, Adam, the penalty technique, he's apparently changed. I hadn't spotted this, but a lot of people online were saying that he's changed his technique. It's really weird to say you're more confident in him from the penalty spot, but he's not necessarily one that it's always like Aguero. I was never fully convinced Aguero would finish off a penalty, but you know what I mean. Even though somebody who is this absolute beast in front of goal. It just always felt like from the penalty spot, it was not necessarily the easiest thing, but here we are. He sat the goalkeeper down, rolled it the other side.
Yeah, I think that the technique change is that slight pause. It's not Balotelli, it's not Hazard or Bruno Fernandes. It's not like that hop skip kind of thing. But you can see...
Just a little subtle thing, yeah.
You can basically see, it's like the final step he does before he kicks the ball, it's like it's been reduced to 0.5 speed. It's like he slightly slows down. So that motion of his kick is when he's looking at the keeper. And then he's often sending the keeper the wrong way now. He did it at the Bernabeu in November. Whereas if you think of his penalties when he first joined the club, it was ball down, head down, ref blows the whistle quickly, run up and just leather it as hard as you can, and it'd usually overpower the goalie. He's not doing that anymore. And I prefer penalties to be taken the way he's taken them now, with a little bit of composure, especially when we're paying him to score goals. I think treat it with a bit more care instead of just like kicking it hard as you can. So yeah, it is filling me with a bit more
There is a beautiful
confidence.
joy though in sometimes when a player just goes, I'm going to hit this as hard as I can. Yeah.
There is, but my opinion on that is if you're going to do that, you've got to be from the Lampard or Vardy ilk, where you're hitting it high, whereas Haaland was always hitting it hard but low as well, which for me makes it savable. That's why then, like, the one that he scored against Fulham that was a last-minute winner in the treble season, very nearly got saved because he leathered it extremely low, whereas, Lampard barely ever missed because it was above the keeper's height. But, what was I saying then? So, the way... I think another thing that we need to make note of is the player who'd saved a penalty already this season was Mamardashvili, and he kind of varied his technique slightly for this one against a keeper who'd already saved against him and sent him the wrong way. So I think that really bodes well for the years to come, that he might improve his penalty taking record, because he's not going to be Yaya, is he? But or Milner, I remember him being particularly good at them, and obviously Balotelli. But if he can get like 80% or above, I think that'll be
doing all right.
That's what we want.
Yeah. Jack, this has come in from John on the emails, who says, lots of City fans seem to be getting on board with moving on Donnarumma and keeping Trafford as our goalkeeper. Both are clearly good keepers, but who do you think is the best fit for the team? There is obviously added context here that I don't know how easy it is to just move Donnarumma on, if that makes sense, because there's wages to consider, there's the fact that he's a newly signed long contract, all that sort of stuff. But there is a question there, isn't there, around the two goalkeepers?
Yeah, I would always say Donnarumma. I think just sort of a bank of evidence that Donnarumma is brilliant is why you would keep Donnarumma and have him as number one. I understand. It's a little bit of a paradox really with Donnarumma, because you look at it and you go, well, kicking's not as good, obviously, but I don't think his kicking is as bad as people make out. Like, the stuff on corners, I just don't understand. Like, you're just punching everything and not coming to catch it, and inviting... It almost feels like sometimes they invite pressure on themselves because of the goalkeeper at corners. But then all the players say that they feel more secure with him. So how do you sort of marry those two things up? And in the shot stopping, you go, well, he's the guy for the big moments, great shot stopper, and then he's his percentages aren't that high. But then you look at go back to the derby in September when United were on top and Buemo's sticking it top corner and Donnarumma plucks it out, tips it wide from absolutely nowhere, and it wins them the game. And I don't think there are many other goalkeepers that can sort of do that in a big moment. So it's quite a difficult conversation to have, really, because the vast majority of people probably want Trafford to succeed because he's come through the academy and it's a nice story and he's obviously brilliant. He's clearly going to be England's number one. But Donnarumma has this kind of special ingredient to him that makes everyone feel a little bit, the players say it, feel more secure. But it not always obvious to the naked eye.
There is...
That's a crap answer.
But it is interesting, though, because, Adam, I would also argue City's best performances this season have come away at St James's Park in the Cup, against Liverpool and Arsenal in the Cups. James Trafford was in goal for both of them, or for all of them. But then at the same time, I don't know how much of the Liverpool performance, for instance, comes from Trafford being in goal, because a lot of the good work was done in the final third and the middle third rather than the defensive third. So I don't know. Do you get that same performance with Donnarumma there? There is such a fine balance.
I think it changes the build-up slightly, but ultimately in those 3 games as well, he played a front four. Particularly St James's Park, that was a very direct attacking line. Savinho, Doku, Marmoush. Look, I don't think we've had the kind of season where you can pinpoint the 3 best performances on one player because Pep's tinkered that much. So, just to build on what Jack said, I like Trafford, I like them both, and I want them both to concede, but we know what it's like with goalkeepers in club football. Only one's going to be able to stay here. You think about the Petr Cech, Thibaut Courtois 10 years ago at Chelsea situation. One has to give way, right? Now, the reason that players are more confident with Donnarumma is quite obvious. I mean, you look at him, you look at the frame, and he's a keeper that I describe where he's almost got that alien X factor, that he's got the ability to demoralise an opposition. You think about when they won the treble last season, PSG, against Arsenal, against Aston Villa. He had games where he was such a freak in net, so freakishly good, reaching saves that he shouldn't be able to save. That can have a psychological negative effect on the opposition, but also galvanise the defenders, knowing that should they make a mistake, they've got that safety blanket behind them. Now, the problems are, the distribution is neither here nor there. His box commanding is poor, but I think that ability to make those big saves that keepers shouldn't be able to make, only him and Courtois really, given their height, his ability to protect his top corners, if you will, I think that is too valuable and rare an asset to just throw away. And I find it quite arrogant, some City fans just saying, I'll just throw Trafford in, it's fine, I'd rather him, as if we've not got one of the 3 best in the world in his position in this team. For me, it's Courtois, Raya and Donnarumma, and I think that you find ways to mitigate his deficiencies because his plus sides are so big and they're so rare that his plus sides are something that Trafford won't be able to attain. Whereas I think that there'll be, if we want to go down the Trafford route, which for me is the Ederson route of build up, maybe conceding a few more chances. If you want to go down that route, there's multiple options of goalkeepers you could sign in the future instead of Trafford. Whereas if you want to go down this Donnarumma route of maybe having a rigid back line, conceding few chances, and when you do, there's this Mr. Tickle there to save them as well in the Champions League. That's how you're going to win big trophies for me. So I'm still firmly in the Donnarumma camp.
Do you get that alien X factor when I'm playing behind you?
Well, we didn't concede a chance last time I did because we had an absolute Pep treble system, didn't we? It was
I didn't do anything either. But, so when you could have had Trafford, Donnarumma, or me in goal, and it wouldn't have made any difference.
Yeah, I think we've had games where we've needed it, David. Yeah, and we've delivered.
Ad-free episodes are available on Patreon. Sign up at patreon.com/Blue Moon Podcast.
Jack, Pep Lijnders let the cat out of the bag after the game when it came to Bernardo. Let's have a quick listen to what he said.
In the game, when he's not playing, you will see how he's missed, and that's one game. Imagine a season. But every good story comes to an end, and I hope he enjoys the last months, because only 6 weeks, and as a good farewell, and he deserves all that attention as well.
Now, it's kind of confirming what we suspected was going to happen, but that means Bernardo's off then, doesn't it? Does that change anything for the last few weeks with how people are feeling about how he's going to be involved, the desire to get him an FA Cup and Premier League title to lift before he goes?
Oh, really? I don't think it really changed anything. Everyone knew he was off, didn't they? Silva basically told us last June this was it. Yeah, it's been a weird, cause sort of like a little bit of a strange whipping up of that story over the last couple of weeks. Like Romano sort of did it, and I was like reading it, going, "Oh, we sort of know all this anyway." And then obviously and clearly Lijnders thought the whole world knew as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said it. Apparently, Silva's not that bothered about it. And I think he obviously deserves like an amazing farewell, because he's been. He's not De Bruyne, Aguero, company, David Silva level, but he's not far behind, is he? Let's be honest. Like the amount of amazing moments that he's contributed to, Real Madrid at home in the treble season, the Polystyrene Cup. He's done it all, hasn't he? And he's
the best bit of the Liverpool stuff, because like the Lijnders as well saying the quiet bit out loud at the start of that press conference when I asked about Bernardo, and he said, previously I hated him, but now I love him. It's like, oh, okay, well, I know the feeling on Merseyside about him. It was the game, the 2-2 at Anfield a few years ago, when he picked the ball up in the middle and just dribbled through everybody and then laid it off to Foden. And if Foden had scored, it would have, that dribble would be remembered as one of the greatest things that a City player had done at Anfield.
That would have been one of the all-time great goals, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
How many did he beat? He beat about five players, would you say?
Beat about 5 and left Van Dijk on his backside.
Yeah. I mean, he just hates Liverpool, doesn't he, Bernardo? Clearly despises them. And he's been there throughout it all. He was on the bus when he was getting pelted with stuff in 2018, and I don't know. It feels like he really identifies with the club. Maybe not the City so much, but definitely with the club and with the supporters. And yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people desperate for him to have a fitting sort of send off, which will be with at least one more trophy. I've actually got to write about him for this weekend, and I don't really know where to start.
So much.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to speak to him before the end of the season, because if you get an extended period of time with him, I think it'd be a lot of fun to go down sort of memory lane.
Yeah, Adam, he's very much enjoying the twilight of his City career. He struggled a bit last season, but you can kind of see how he's fought to get into the position he's in this season, can't you?
Yeah, I think he struggled last season just because of everything else that was going wrong. The average age of the squad was about 35, and I remember thinking last season, everyone was going, "Oh God, Bernardo's finished." I was thinking, he's only, what was he, 31 last season, 30, something like that. And I thought he's probably just having to do twice as much of the work because the others are 35. That's how it kind of felt to me. This season, I think as a captain and as a leader, first and foremost, he's really, really impressed me. I knew he was that anyway, and he played with his heart on his sleeve, but there's also been a level of maturity. I think about that Anfield performance, where he kind of... It felt like he was a big reason that we turned the heat up a bit in that game in the last 5-10 minutes. I know he scored the goal, so it's easy to say, but it's just his general energy all over the pitch seemed to have an infectious effect on the team. For me, he's just, in general, I think he's the most he's the player that's typified Pep City more than anyone for me, like in the way he plays. If that makes sense. So like his energy off the ball, but also his technicality, the fact he can play 10+ positions. He is just the most City Pep coded player. So I'll be devastated when he goes. But yeah, this season he's massively improved, but obviously the squad's coming into a new generation as well, so it was never going to be as bad as last season. If I'd have played last season and then this one, I'd have also probably improved this season, just because we had no Kyle Walker, no Gundogan being absolutely ran through in the middle. So, but yeah, he's had I just hope he gets the send-off he deserves now, like Jack said, with an FA Cup, which I think we'll get, but hopefully he's the second treble winning captain as well.
The thing is, when they were tinkering and sort of figuring out after sort of Christmas on how they wanted to press and things like that, and they went into this diamond press where Bernardo was sitting alongside Rodri when they had the ball, but then when they were out of possession, he was then moving further forward to the top of the diamond and pressing in between Haaland and whoever else. And the amount of work he was having to get through was like incredible. And then he's 31, he's not ancient, but he's sort of in the twilight of his career. And I don't think there's anyone else. In fact, I asked Pep about it. Is there anyone else you could ask to do this role that would understand what you want from it, and B, be able to sort of enact it physically? And he just said no. Like, he's the only one that you could trust to be able to do that. Because if they don't do it properly, they're all out of shape. Like, it's
massive
all
gaping hole there.
Out of whack, all out of kilter, and you just get played through. And I thought, like, when he was doing that, I just like, my God, this guy is like... And, like, you obviously knew it was the business anyway, but I mean, that was just like, that's top.
Yeah. Let's see how the remainder of the season goes for him then. Let's start with the Chelsea game. And to begin, I've been speaking to Liam Twomey, who's the Chelsea correspondent for The Athletic.
It's been one of the more eventful international breaks, I think you'd have to say, with Enzo Fernandez relentlessly flirting with Real Madrid, to then Marc Cucurella doing an interview with my publication, openly questioning the hierarchy and the kind of core strategy, I think you'd say, of the Blue Co project. And then Chelsea going out and punishing Enzo Fernandez, not Cucurella, interestingly, but Fernandez with a 2-game ban, and then his agent Javier Pastore coming to us and doing what was effectively a Q&A. I've never even seen that before. An agent basically doing a mix zone. Maybe he still thinks like a player, talking about how the ban was unfair. Yeah, and that's not even accounting for the fact that Chelsea's season has looked like it's been unravelling for several weeks now, and a 7-0 win over Port Vale does not really paper over many cracks, and there are a lot of cracks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking back through the results really, and I mean, PSG, tough tie. You know, that's not maybe one that the manager can do much about. But a 3-0 defeat at Everton, a 1-0 defeat at home to Newcastle. These are games that I guess you would look at on paper and think, like, if Chelsea are going to qualify for the Champions League, they need to be winning these.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Rosenior put part of it down to kind of like an emotional hangover from that PSG tie. And I think part of that rings true. Chelsea were competitive with PSG for 74 minutes at Parc des Princes until it all fell apart, and then they got an absolute lesson at Stamford Bridge, which I think would have been very difficult for them emotionally, particularly as it came at the hands of the team that they upset to win the Club World Cup final. That has kind of catalysed some of the issues that have already been there since this jarring mid-season transition from Enzo Maresca to Liam Rosenior. Some of the things Cucurella said, I think, echoed what Rosenior himself has said about him not really having time to implement his ideas. And, Chelsea looked at Rosenior as a continuation tactically from Maresca, but no two coaches are the same. Every coach has their own little tweaks and things that they want to do. And He came into Chelsea in the midst of a 9-game month in January and hasn't had a ton of breathing time since. There's a bit more now because Chelsea have gone out of a couple of competitions, but there is also that sense around the place that there isn't that much to play for, when in fact at a club level the most important target is still in the balance, which is Champions League qualification. I think that may not be the biggest target for fans, but it's certainly the biggest target for the club financially and in terms of what they'd like to do with recruitment this summer. And those recent results have really imperiled their chances of reaching top 5.
Well, I was going to say it is definitely the top 5 for this season now. And I mean, you look at the form that Liverpool have been in. Aston Villa haven't been in the greatest of form either. Like how are Chelsea in this race? How are they doing in this race? Because as you say, you look at recent results and it's really not good. But when Rosenior came in at the start of January, there was a run of wins there. So like, was that kind of the honeymoon period? Is that now kind of the cold reality of the size of the job? Like where are we now with Chelsea at this moment?
Well, Rosenior did come into a packed fixture schedule, but also quite a favourable one. So his first 6 Premier League games were about as good as you could hope for as a new coach. I think some of the sheen of his 4 straight wins to start was taken off by home draws against Leeds and Burnley. Before the rut really set in, that was an early sign that maybe Chelsea didn't have quite as much momentum as it appeared. Since then, as the fixture list has turned, it feels like Chelsea have been punished for every mistake that they've made, and they've made a lot of mistakes on the pitch, in particular at home. I think they've got more points away from Stamford Bridge than at Stamford Bridge this season, which is not great when you're looking at back-to-back home games against Manchester clubs in the next couple of weeks. Chelsea need to try and turn Stamford Bridge into a difficult place to play again for visiting teams, and it really hasn't been. And I think the most alarming thing under Rosenior has been just how easy Chelsea have been to play through and the manner in which they've conceded goals. They're conceding goals at a completely unsustainable rate, but some of the goals that they're conceding are pretty farcical, and they're actually evocative of Mauricio Pochettino's time. A lot of the football under Enzo Maresca was not thrilling, but one thing that he did do was he established this very, I think a lot of fans would say, too rigid structure where there would basically always be 5 men behind the ball with a back 3 and 2 players screening in front, and it did limit the damage that could be done to Chelsea. Rosenior has made things a bit more fluid, and I think it has made things more exciting in the final third, and Chelsea tend to create more. But when they lose the ball, bad things happen much more regularly. I think you're also seeing some of the players are quite uncomfortable with some of the decisions they're being asked to make under duress, including the goalkeepers, as you saw from Philip Jorgensen against PSG, and Robert Sanchez's distribution has always been a bit erratic. But Chelsea are suffering a lot of self-inflicted wounds at the moment, and given the form that Manchester City have been in recently, you would back them to punish any mistakes that Chelsea do make.
Yeah, I mean, what have you made of the kind of off the pitch stuff as well, the kind of noise behind the scenes? Because I mean, one thing that the club has in common is that like Chelsea have had the FFP punishment kind of ratified and confirmed. We're still waiting on the 115 verdict and potential punishment if there's a guilty verdict there. But there's been the whole stuff about kind of like the respecting the ball and the huddle and everything like all of this sort of background noise at a time when the form's been as bad as it has been just doesn't feel very helpful.
Yeah, the huddle thing was a silly sideshow that was, to be fair, not created by Liam Rosenior. Cucurella basically let the cat out of the bag on this one when he did the interview with us, that it was a member of the backroom staff. Understanding is that it was quite heavily influenced by Willie Issa, who's the rugby league guy who was brought in to be the kind of mentality coach of the squad. It just always looked a bit foolish, to be honest. And teams were either unbothered about it or just kind of looking at Chelsea like, what the hell are you doing? We're talking about this in quite serious terms. It was, I think, the funniest moment of the season. It certainly generated the funniest image of the season. But when we're talking about distractions for Chelsea, if you do something like that and you're subscribing to this kind of rugby mentality of we own the pitch, we own the ball, you then have to go and win. If you don't go and win and you fail in very familiar ways, which they have been doing, you just look a bit silly. And then I can understand Rosenior's impulse to try and defend his players. But the whole respect the ball thing, it just adds to the series of Rosenior quotes, which, to be fair, quite a reasonable chunk of them predate his appointment at Chelsea. They come from his time at Strasbourg as well. That just kind of undermine his credibility as well.
Yeah. How do you see Sunday going then in that case? Because you've already talked about City being in form. We don't know if this is now a consistent City side that can keep that form going. All season it's been a bit up and down. But with Chelsea in the form that they're in, Stamford Bridge being the place that it is, the recent results for City, are a lot of Chelsea fans quite nervous about this one?
There's probably a measure of anxiety. I think there's also a measure of indifference, honestly, among Chelsea fans, because there is a lot of disillusionment with this project. I could honestly see if City make a strong start and maybe score early, the atmosphere could turn quite quickly. I wasn't at the Port Vale game, but I heard from people who were that even as they were scoring, there was basically no reaction. A lot of Chelsea fans are just not really believing in this team. They're not believing in Rosenior. They're not believing in the people making the decisions. That's partly, I think, why you've seen an acceleration in some of the messaging coming out of Chelsea about maybe what they're planning to do this summer, perhaps in a bid to reassure a few people. But within the context of this game, you have to look at City's recent record at Stamford Bridge, which is very good. They have no fear of coming there. In fact, it often seems to motivate them. I've often thought that Pep Guardiola has taken particular delight, particularly post 2021, in absolutely sticking it to Chelsea whenever he can. And this is quite a different group of players now, isn't it? This City team has changed so much in the last year or so, but they have bought real quality. And I think particularly in Haaland and Semenyo, they've got two players capable of deciding a game on their own. And I don't think Chelsea have anyone of that individual quality right now. Cole Palmer at his best, but we haven't seen Cole Palmer at his best in quite a long time.
Yeah. Well, Liam, we've got the charity bet coming up. What's your score prediction for it?
I'm going to say Manchester City win 2-1.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
This is the Blue Moon Podcast. Listen to it. Drink it in.
That was Liam Twomey. Now, Adam, Liam's just explained that Chelsea are in all sorts of trouble. So, given the Liverpool performance, Liverpool also in all sorts of trouble this season, does that boost confidence, or does it open the door to that old nagging devil of typical City on the shoulder?
I think it builds confidence just because of where we're at in the season. Look, we should have beat Chelsea at home. Chelsea were in. This was when they had that. Was it Liam McFarlane was the interim, and they just sacked Maresca. So that was
great
the start
plucking of a name that nobody's ever going to remember.
I don't know where I got that from. There, that's it. It's because we're in that pub quiz the other day. What is it? Is it Liam? That's a good question. It's not Seth.
Definitely McFarlane. That was good.
McFarlane, McFarlane's a good pluck. I want to know what it is.
I think it might be Darren. Can I quickly Google it? One sec.
It's not he doesn't look like a Darren to me. Darren. He looks like a Chris.
Chris McFarlane. No, Chris McFarlane is he manages the local Wicks or something like that.
It is Liam McFarlane. Wait, no, it's
Callum
not.
McFarlane. Callum McFarlane. There we go.
Oh, there's a Liam McFarlane that plays for... He plays in Scotland for Alloa. Right, let's carry on. Anyway, so what was the question? Chelsea, right, my point was, under Mr. McFarlane, City should have won that game. And that was the start of this cycle where they ended up with Rosenior, they'd sacked Maresca. And that was a signal that Chelsea... Look, Chelsea have been, for me, in disarray since Todd Boehly came in. I think the Blueco model does not lend itself to being competitive at the top of the table. You can't treat a club like a stock market where you're just trying to flip players for profit, like with no sporting strategy whatsoever. It's the analogy of throwing as much shit at a wall till some of it sticks to the point where that gets you Champions League, and the rest of it you can shave off every summer for hopefully a profit. It's a terrible way of running a club, and I kind of feel sorry for them in a way, because if that was City, I cannot tell you how angry I'd be if City were being run like that. So, with all that considered, I think a lot of the fans want Rosenior gone already.
This is feeling more and more like a nailed-on home win to me now.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the players are so young that I don't think they're going to be willing to listen to his instructions. A lot of the players don't work in that system because they keep jumping around management, styles of players, profiles of players. There's no cohesive unit there, and a lot of the players just aren't good enough. You combine all of those things. The only thing that works in their favour is now 5th spots back available for Champions League, so they have kind of got more to play for. But they're so bad. I think they've won 7 home games all season, so I'm just not having it any other way that when we're in a title race we should not be going there, and I'm convincingly beating them like we should have done at the Etihad. For me they're bobbins.
Just on Liam McFarlane's club, just say it again for me, Adam.
Liam's, I think it said Aloha on Transfer Market for me.
Yeah, Aloha or Aloha?
Aloha. I don't know how you'd say it.
I always think Aloha Athletic. I'd never heard it pronounced more like Aloha.
I think
before.
Aloha's Lilo and Stitch, isn't it?
Yeah. Jack, for City, the personnel against Arsenal and Liverpool, there was one change, Mark Gaughan coming in. Are we seeing this sort of end of season starting 11 phase kicking in now? Or is there anybody who might get rotated out for these final few weeks?
No, I think it's fairly settled now, isn't it? The only, certainly in midfield and the forwards, I think that's feels like it's nailed on who's going to play. Maybe at the back there's a little bit of because I'd want to play Kusanov every week, really. But obviously you got Diaz and Gay, so there might be. I think there might be a little bit of maybe a bit of to and fro with them. But other than that, I mean, the only one that you sort of people would be pushing to get a spot would be Foden. But I mean, like, just hasn't done it, has he? For since December. So I just can't see him getting back in. So yeah, fairly. It's the same. We've had 10 years of this, haven't we? Like, you get to March, April, and you know
what the team's going to be.
Pretty much know what the team's going to be. I mean, we're talking about a 10 out of 11 that we pretty much know now. In previous years, it has been 11, hasn't it? You could just pick the team for the last sort of 2 months.
Adam's already sung the praises of the front four. Jack, what have you made of Doku, Semenyo and Cherki recently as well, specifically those three? Because very good out wide, but also very good coming inside as well.
Yeah, Doku seems to be in a place now where he's becoming more not becoming more threatening because he's always threatening, but there's the sort of like end product is a little bit more consistent. He's got his head up more. Semenyo.
Oh, I was going to say the threat actually carries a threat. But obviously that makes no sense. But you know what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And Semenyo, I don't think Semenyo is interesting because I don't think Semenyo technically is quite at the level of a lot of the other players. But gives them something in this sort of like Lijnders world of Guardiola City that it's a bit more kind of vertical and direct, and he puts the fear of God into defenders. And then when you knit those two sort of like flyers with someone like Cherki, who's like, I mean, like look at Cherki's 5-yard pass for Núñez for the Liverpool game for the Haaland header. Just like it's absolutely class. And he's got this, he's got the vision that you can't really teach. And there are elements to his game that frustrate Guardiola. But frustrate is
the kindest way to put it.
yeah. But you've just got to harness someone that's that good. And I think the good thing about him is that he's making everyone else look good as well.
Yeah. Just on Cherky, Adam. I mean, obviously the highlights are the bit where he nearly gave the ball away by standing on it and then laughing about it when he caught it back, putting on Ekitike's shirt, all this sort of stuff. The back heel, there was a back heel, I think, to Semenyo on the right hand side. That was just incredible. These moments are the moments why we love players like Ryan Cherky, aren't they? It's like he can do all sorts of Guardiola stuff like Bernardo, but actually what we want to see is the batshit stuff.
Yeah, he's it's also going to make the players want to play better as well. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like infectious. It's not like at five-a-side where if you've got some greedy guy doing step overs, it'll piss you off. It's not like that. It's more when you're do you know what it is? When he does these flicks and tricks, and it's also like he did that 2-touch pass to Núñez, like there was the back heel, but for the goal he stood on the ball with his left and kicked it with his right in like one quick motion. When you got a player who can do these flicks and tricks, the Rabona against Sunderland, but do them efficiently, like he's actually racking up assists, pre-assists, influencing the game, breaking the lines, he's hurting the opposition whilst doing these things. When you have a player like that is the ability of like what, or the impact of games that players like Neymar were having, or Ronaldinho. And I'm not saying they're as good as them, but what I'm saying is they had the confidence to do those things on a football pitch, but do it while affecting the game. So it's not like you're watching Lee Trundle at Swansea, where, you know, he's balancing the ball on his head at the corner flag and half the fans are going, whoa, like it's not like that. Where it's it's showboating for the sake of showboating. It's showboating with a purpose, and I think that's infectious on the other teammates as well.
I was really hoping you were going to name a Blackpool player then, and Jack was going to hit the roof.
I can't think of the most skillful Blackpool player. Maybe
we've had no players with any sort of skill.
Maybe Stanley Matthews, maybe.
Yeah, he famously had no skill, just had one trick, to be fair. Winning the Ballon d'Or.
But yeah, like he's infectious, and obviously he plays with his personality. It's like his football's an extension of himself, because he's a bit of a little shit, really, isn't he? And I mean that complimentary. Like he's, you know, you can tell he's like that sort of the kid in the classroom who'll like get in trouble, but the teacher secretly loves him. Like it's that kind of vibe you get with Cherky. So everything about him I just really, really like. He's a breath of fresh air. When you think about, as well, what makes me laugh, one of the sticks Pep's been beat with in the last few years is all he does is sign robots, all these robotic players who fit into this system and stuff. Look now, you've got this guy.
He wanted one last challenge before he left. That's what he wanted.
Yeah, can I win it with one guy who's doing what he wants? And I think he'll be able to, because he's that talented.
Right, charity bet time. Nobody had 4-0 against Arsenal on the bingo card for last weekend, so the total remains on 460 quid so far for the season. What did I say?
Arsenal.
Oh, I've got Liverpool written down on my script, so I thought I'd said Liverpool.
Arsenal,
but here we
rent-free in your head.
There we are, exactly. Either way, we didn't win the charity bet. We are running out of games to make this a respectable total now, so come on, everyone, we need some help here. William Hill has given us 3 £10 correct score singles. The winnings are going to the Man City fans food bank group. We heard that Liam Twomey's gone for a 2-1 City win. That is 15-2 and 75 quid if he's right. Jack, what are you having?
3-1 City.
3-1 City is 12-1 and 120 quid. Adam?
3-0 City.
That's 18-1 and 180 quid, so fingers crossed for you there. Remember, you've got to be 18 or over to gamble. Prices can change, and for information on responsible gambling, have a look at gambleaware.org. Now, this week, the Citizens Trust was launched as the first independent supporters trust for City fans. I've been speaking to the founding members, Loukas, Gregory, and first, Katie Wrench, to find out more about what it is and why it's needed, starting with how they're feeling now that the trust has launched.
Relief. Relief to have got to this point, but also just so much excitement about what might come as we start to build the membership, really, and the possibilities that might bring for us and for the club and for the supporters of Manchester City.
Loukas, how are you feeling? It's been a lot of hard work, hasn't it?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Katie. I mean, this is we've spent months and months, if not years, sort of working up towards this. So it's really good to have finally launched and put all the hard work into practice now. So I'm excited to see where this goes, what it looks like over the next few weeks, and how many members we sign up and what positive changes we can start working towards.
Yeah, how much work has gone in there? Give me an idea about what you guys have been doing kind of behind the scenes, because a lot of people will see, Supporters Trust launch. How hard can it be to get a group of people together to launch Supporters Trust? So like what has actually been going on? Katie, what's been going on behind the scenes?
Oh, goodness me. When I was first asked to get involved almost a year ago, I had no clue how much work it would be to get to this point. Effectively, you're setting up a legal entity. It's a community benefit society. So, there's been all of the work around that, the legal stuff around that, and development of the model rules, and then all doing the FSA training, and you're registered with the FCA. So there's all the financial stuff as well. But then there's also been all the stuff that's about, what's our mission statement? What do we want to define ourselves by? And what are our policies? And, I can't even begin to tell you. We meet every week, every Monday as a interim board, but I couldn't even begin to count the number of hours and the new skills we've had to develop along the way to get to this point. We've had some really kind people helping us with things like the website and the logo development and stuff, which we're incredibly grateful for. But ultimately, it's been the 9 of us really that have done everything. Thousands of hours.
Yeah, Loukas, why is this needed? Why now? Why has this been decided upon that City fans need a supporters trust now? Because there's never been one before.
Yeah, I think it's important to add the kind of background context to who we all are involved in the trust as well. Over the past few years, there's been a few decisions that the club has made which have obviously upset fans. We saw the big protest last year, as well as other issues such as charging disabled fans to park, which myself, I've previously been involved. I am currently still involved with 1894. We have former City Matters representatives involved, the food bank guys who are all great, solid citizens. All of us collectively had previously worked on these other campaigns, and we've had really good success with them. The other examples are things like the Community Shield boycott, where we got the kickoff time changed for fans travelling from Manchester. What we're seeing is that fans generally are quite disgruntled and unhappy. We're hearing a lot of reports of fans who are planning on not renewing the season tickets and feeling less attached to the club than they were previously. I think it's important to note that regardless of success on the pitch, it doesn't necessarily mean that things are going perfectly off the pitch. And hopefully we can be a body that helps with that and aid it. Also, it's an interesting thing where City are one of the very few clubs who don't actually have a support or didn't previously have a supporters trust. So I think it's good to get an organised group of fans together.
I mean, Katie, like Loukas says, there's been a lot of issues kind of for City fans, and there hasn't been one kind of overriding body that has been there to help them. We've seen a lot of different fan groups getting involved. What does this mean kind of going forward? What is the Trust's relationship with all of those fan groups, for instance? What does it mean for the food bank, for Solid Citizens, for 1894?
I think all of those groups do great work, don't they? Including City Matters, because we've got a FAB as well, haven't we? But most teams in the Premier League have both. They have a FAB and they have a trust. So we see ourselves as working closely with those other groups. We don't, as Loukas said, I think some of those other fan groups have got pulled into roles and responsibilities that they weren't set up to fulfill, really. So I guess what we want to be is an independent, democratic, member-led organisation for our supporters. And yes, we'll be thinking about all of those kinds of issues that Loukas has just raised, but the other aspect to the trust is one of community benefits. So it's set up to serve the communities where our members live. So as we grow our membership and we grow the base of the trust, what we really want is to be doing work within the communities that our members live in, as well as the stuff that Loukas has just alluded to related to the club. So I think it's got those two functions, and that makes the trust a little bit different, I think, from some of those other groups. But we have a very, very clear positive engagement strategy for working with other supporter groups and with the club. We've written to all of those groups on the day of our launch to welcome collaborative working, really. So we really hope that we can all exist together and that we'll be seen as a positive addition to the good work that's already happening, really, with those other groups.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You both say as well that City are one of the clubs that never had this before. Like in terms of kind of moving forward, what will it change? Do you think, Loukas? What do you think it now means for City fans to have this group?
Yeah, so what I would stress first of all is that anyone can join. Every member gets a vote, gets a say in how the organisation is run. I would say, as somebody who is a founder of 1894, some of the other groups, it may feel a bit daunting to get in touch with them, to join up and to really influence their policy and how they're working on things. With the trust, we're going to have different working groups. So for argument's sake, I'll be working on campaigns. That means that there will be open meetings where members can join, discuss issues, how we're going to work towards getting positive outcomes for fans. And so I feel the trust will give City fans the opportunity to really get involved. Even if they don't particularly want to be as hands-on as that, it also gives them a body where they can contact, raise concerns, ask for support, that type of thing, without having the kind of... we're independent, we're fan led. It's not like going direct to the club to complain about something, if that makes sense. There's an independent body who are there for fans' best interests.
I mean, Katie, there's lots of issues that the trust will be able to deal with. There's obviously also be things that the trust won't be able to deal with. How do you see kind of what do you see the relationship with the fans being like? How do fans get involved? What can you kind of do for the fans?
Well, we'll be led by what our members want. So that our first driver is to get people to sign up, really, to go to the website, which is thecitizenstrust.org. You can join the trust there. There's a 2-week early bird joining offer. Anyone can join for a £5 for those first couple of weeks. So that's step one, get involved. One member, one vote. And then, as Loukas said, we will then be kind of canvassing the views of our members to think about what are the priorities of our members. It's not for the board to decide that, or the interim board, because we will only be here for the first 6 months. We've done the job of setting up the trust, but then what we'll be doing is opening that up to our members. So we would really, really encourage people to get involved, whether that's in membership, which is what I'll be involved with, campaigns, fundraising. There's so many different ways to shape the offer of the trust. So I think, we as the members of this interim board have got ideas about what we'd like to see happen, but ultimately it's not about what we want to see happen. It will be for the members of the trust to decide what they want to make happen. And our job, I guess, to galvanise those people and help make those ideas or those thoughts about what they might want to do for their communities or in relation to the club happen.
I also would say that the number of members who sign up will obviously... that will obviously lead how influential the trust will be too. We're hoping that thousands of members join, like we see at other Premier League clubs. And the weight of that membership and the number of people that are involved will give us a serious backing to go to the club, request things, speak to them, see what changes we can do. I think it's also important to mention that it's not necessarily all like negative, confrontational or problematic issues that will exist for. There's also a lot of community work that we can do, and a lot of charitable things as well that we can work towards as well. So that's the main point that I would stress is if you're a fan who perhaps isn't completely happy with how things are going at City, I know there's issues with like ticket prices, ticket availability, flexi gold cards, those types of things. the best thing you can do is join the trust, make your voices heard, and work together collectively with us to get those positive changes. And I think a lot of it also is because we are continuing from this base of having multiple groups working together, acting on behalf of fans. We've already personally seen a lot of wins, and we've already made a lot of concessions. Like in the last couple of seasons alone, we got that disabled parking charges reversed. We got the Community Shield kickoff time moved to a more appropriate time for fans travelling from Manchester, and we also got season ticket prices frozen, which I know the City Martyrs Fan Advisory Board helped a lot with that, but undeniably the protests, which were fan led and fan organised, definitely swayed opinion there in the boardroom at City. So while this isn't a promise that we can make the world perfect and fix every problem going forward, the main point being that a big group of independent supporters can make a real difference. We already have been making a difference, but the trust will formalise that and put us all into the same group, which should have a bigger, more unified voice.
And just to finish, Katie, as well, obviously Loukas mentioned the positive changes that have been made there. I guess this goes to show that in 2026, when TV companies are are moving games left, right, and centre, where there's never been more money than there has been at the top of football. I guess this goes to show that fans still have a voice and still have a major part to play in how their football clubs are run and how things are shaped.
Couldn't agree more. And what we really want to be is that independent, collective, unified voice, bringing together whichever fan of Manchester City Football Club that wants to join. We'll welcome you, and we'd really, really encourage you to get involved, because the bigger we are, the more power we have, the more good we can do.
Yeah, and Loukas, just remind us how people can get involved.
So if you head to our website, which is thecitizenstrust.org, you'll see the options to join the membership there. We are only charging £5 for a membership for the time being, which is a limited time special offer. So hurry up, guys, and join up. After then, it'll go up to £10 per member. From there, you'll get all the information you need to get in touch with us, get involved with the working groups that we're setting up, and help us create something special.
Can I just add in that we do have concessionary rates as well? Once the opening offer has finished, which is for 2 weeks from the day of launch, we have concessionary rates for young adults 18 to 25, for over 65s, and for junior members. We would really encourage you to get involved and follow us on the socials. So that's at MCFC Trust, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, Blue Sky. We'd love you to get involved. We'd love to know what you think of the trust, and we'd love you to join.
You tell yourself no one wants your college-era band tees, but on Depop, people are searching for exactly what you've got. You once paid a small fortune for them at merch stands. Now, a teenager who calls them vintage will offer that same small fortune back. Sell them easily on Depop. Just snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. Who knew your questionable music taste would be a money-making machine? Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Springfest is heating up at Lowe's, and for a limited time, we have the extra big deals you need to impress guests. Get your outdoor space ready and save $50 on the select Cobalt 24-volt blower kit, now $79. Plus, save $80 on the Charbroil Performance 4-burner grill, now $199. It's springtime, and our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 4/13. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
You're listening to the Blue Moon Podcast. You've made it this far, so don't give up now.
That was Loukas, Gregory and Katie Wrench from the newly formed Citizens Trust. We will finish with, we got one listener question this week. We're going to squeeze it in for the end of the show. Get in touch for next week in all the usual ways. Blue Sky at bluemoonpodcast.com. Contact at bluemoonpodcast.com as well. Search for us on Instagram. We are just Blue Moon Podcast there. Daryl's been in touch on Blue Sky, kind of picking up from what you were saying before, Jack, to say, should Diaz be worried for his long-term future with how Kusanov has played lately?
I don't. I was talking to someone about this yesterday. the quality of the 4 centre halves they're going to have for next season, or they've got now, when you add Guardiola into the mix, they're almost too good. Like, there doesn't seem to be like a pecking order with it, really. They're all fantastic for very different reasons.
Yeah, but does that make it a case of, for this job we need this person, therefore this game will have this player?
Yeah, but I mean, like, traditionally you want kind of, we're talking about getting a settled side for the end of the season. You sort of want your back two to have a sort of weekly partnership, don't you? Diaz, to be honest with you, the only thing I think that Diaz has got that the others don't is the leadership aspect of it, which obviously is massive. But I think all the other three, well, particularly Kusanov and Gvardiol, have attributes that far outweigh what Diaz has got, I think, as a defender, but also on the ball. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. I wonder whether an actual back three is going to be more prominent in the coming years.
Instead of one that becomes a back three when players move around, you mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't see. Obviously, people get injuries and stuff that happens in seasons and things like that. But I just think those 4 centre halves are like every single team in the Premier League would play one of them in their team. Everyone would have them. So being able to sort of like negotiate a full season with all 4 of them, providing they are all fully fit, I think is a tough ask for whoever is manager.
Very nicely negotiated, those final few words of that sentence. Adam, Kusanov obviously has. We talk all the time about the pace that he has, and one of the big assets to his game is how quickly he can get back into position. What doesn't get talked about a lot is how good he's been on the ball and how good he's been at reading the game as well.
It's something he's improved on massively. Yeah, I don't think he's still at the level of, well, certainly not Gvardiol. Probably not Gay on the ball yet in terms of breaking the lines consistently, but he seems to be taking that extra moment on the ball, getting his head up a bit more. I love the fact that he's almost rash and erratic in the tackle. I think that's his strength, but I think he almost let that bleed into his on the ball play previously, whereas now he's taking that moment, he's taking that pause, and it's another string to his bow. But for me, with this back line now, with these centre halves, I think it's the strongest we've had on paper since 18-19, where it was Stones, Otamendi, Laporte and company. That was 4 top quality centre backs. You've got to remember that Otamendi, that's just come off the back of a team of the season in the Premier League. Laporte, obviously we knew how good he was. Company's company, and Stones was really coming into his own as well. Stones was almost in the Kusanov role back then, I felt, where he was like the youngest of the 4 and he was coming through and the fans loved him, or at least saw a lot of the potential. The worrying thing is I think Kusanov's already nearly there. I don't see a weakness with this guy. So maybe one of the ways I've thought around it that I think Pep could do next season is actually Aït-Nouri who falls by the wayside, whereby O'Reilly will go into midfield. This is in a post-Bernardo world. O'Reilly will go into midfield in certain games. Gvardiol will play left back, and then you'll go with Gay and Kusanov, or Gay and Diaz at centre half, and you go about it that way. Because I think that the good thing about Kusanov is, because of his pace, he also he complements whoever he plays alongside really well as well. It's quite a nice yin and yang. It's like good cop, bad cop defenders, where one will spring into action, launch into a tackle, often win the ball, and the other can be a bit more sort of laissez-faire. I think it works really well. So, but on the ball, I know that was your question, and I've just gone off on a tangent, but on the ball, he is improving as well, yeah.
When Adam said about Bernardo, I've got it in me. I've got it in my mind. I just think Rico Lewis is going to be a really good Bernardo. He'll probably never scale the sort of heights that Bernardo's reached, but I just think there's a solution in the squad for Bernardo and sort of what Bernardo does. And I'm hoping that he's sort of given a little bit of a run and a little bit of a chance to sort of prove that he can perform that role, because I think he'd be quite good at it.
That said, I absolutely see what Adam says about Nico O'Reilly in that role, because Nico O'Reilly in midfield has been fantastic.
Yeah, well, when he said that about Nico O'Reilly, I suddenly thought sort of if they go and sign a right fullback who can sort of do what others have done in the past and kind of like move inside or whatever, then you can sort of play Guardiola on the left, and then your back three becomes how it's always been, doesn't it? And then you can go and O'Reilly can go and do what he does in midfield. So plenty of options. I mean, it just goes back to what I was saying before. Like next season, I'd put a lot of money on them winning the league next year.
Okay, that's Jack's advice, not necessarily the advice of the Blue Moon podcast, but there we are. That's it for this week's episode. Thank you very much to my guest for this one, Jack Gaughan.
Thank you, mate.
Absolute gambler that you are. And Adam Monk.
Pleasure, thanks for having me.
There is a clip of this week's Nostalgia episode coming up shortly. That was a third helping of City Heaven, City Hell when it comes to games with Crystal Palace. Richard Burns joined me and Palace fan Jim Daly to discuss 4 matches, too good and too bad. If you want to hear the full thing now, head on over to members.bluemoonpodcast.com. I'll be back again next week, so I'll see you then.
That was the Blue Moon Podcast. Please give the show a rating and a review where you can. And don't forget, you can listen without the ads by signing up to our Patreon. You'll also get an extra episode each Monday. Here's a clip of this week's.
I remember I had a super dry jacket on. The steward patted me down, and when he did it, he said, "You're looking fly in your super dry," and I loved it. And I went in, and there was barely anybody in there because we were that early. And by memory, the concourse at Selhurst quite long, narrow, and there's like one screen in the corner. It's quite a small screen, and I was there for the slip moment. And then there's that moment when they get through in stoppage time. Absolute carnage. The only video I've ever uploaded to YouTube was a video from the away end that day.
Is it still there? Is it still there?
I don't even know if I said it public. I think I might have said it private, so I could just send it to people.
And I bet the quality is terrible. I bet the quality is appalling.
Yeah, absolutely awful. And the dominant sound is me singing City chants, and I ain't a singer, so it's not a very pleasant video. But it was just absolutely, from that point, absolutely bouncing. And I remember so little of the City game because I don't think I've ever celebrated a non-City goal as much as I celebrated that second one. I remember the City goals, but I couldn't tell you anything else about the game. Even Jim's memory of how well Yaya played, I couldn't have told you that because my memory is all rooted in what happened before it.
You can listen to more of that at patreon.com/Blue Moon Podcast. And join us again next time for another episode.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.